You spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Are you guys decorating for Christmas? Is that what's going on?
Oh my gosh. Julie's decor my wife is on point. What about yourself? Do you have a meeting today? Your hair is very slick back and ready. It looks beautiful. What's going on? Who are you trying to impress?
Slicked back. I'm not sure how I feel about that. You know what we did today? We went down to our studio down in the plaza. Lily and James has a studio down there. And my children are off school all week. So I just sent the off the internet scary text right now. But we went down to the studio. My kids are starting a business. And we did a photo shoot for their website for their business. So I wasn't in it, but I did have to put makeup on because I took them out of the house. So,
well, you look very nice. Now, what is the business for your son and your daughter?
You know, we're still in pre-stages, but I will tell you essentially, so it's my two sons and my daughter. What they are doing is they are putting together a website that if you need anything for your kiddos, you can go to this website. Like any teacher, any coach, because my kids are into such random things, right? They're into esports and ukulele and guitar and voice lessons and football. You can go to this one website and find a coach or a teacher for anything kids stuff where they're background checked and vetted and reviewed. And so they're putting together a website for that. So they've been busy all week researching. So if anybody's out there and they want to be in our beta test, let us know. And today we've been writing website content. And today we did the photo shoot for the website. So I'm really excited for them.
Wow. That is, I love that. Is that weird that you explained to me so many things and I'm like, man, who can play the ukulele?
Lily can play the ukulele. She's very good.
It's a versatile instrument. You can literally play like anything you want on it.
Well, yes. So both my kids both Lily and Devin play the ukulele right now, but Lily, she's our little ukulele player. Devin plays the guitar, so it's a little bit crossover. How have you been? How are you feeling? Tell everybody.
Oh man, I'm going to scare everyone with this, but 3 weeks ago, couldn't send an email. Started walking a lot better 2 weeks ago, started driving 2 weeks ago. And last week I started using the bathroom on my own on Wednesday. And so TMI, but I had meningitis and encephalitis, which is an infection of the brain and the spinal cord. So it's a random thing that I always, I partied hard. This has nothing to do with health, but I always told myself, in karma world, I've had so much fun in life. I knew something would get dealt to me and I'd be okay with it. I just thought it was going to be 3 daughters, but I had a son and a daughter. So I got that a random, just, a virus that is not contagious, but it just hits you and shuts you down. So I was in a hospital for the month of October and Aaron was super nice and ran the show. But speaking of this show, are we allowed to talk about what we're doing tomorrow for Bank of Blue Valley?
We absolutely are. I want to know who's all watching, though, really quick, because I want a lot of people to hear this announcement. It's pretty exciting. Hi, Matt. How are you? Toby, for sure, I'm going to hit you up. All right. Yes, you want to chat about it? Because this is really exciting. 2 Drinks with Leaders shows in 1 week.
No, I know. And I was just talking to Matt yesterday, and Toby and I were having coffee Monday.
So why don't you tell everybody what we're doing tomorrow?
Oh my God. Well, it's Bob Rainier's big interview. But the thing, I don't want to give too much away. I want you to talk about it too. but one of your best friends, Erin, is going to be on the show. Now, she's one of the most giving, nicest people in Kansas City. I mean, even though it's not $100 million revenue business, she's someone everyone should know. But Bob Rainier, speaking to his character and speaking to Bank of Blue Valley being a community bank and being a bank that works with some of the largest companies in Kansas City, they chose a small business because it was one of the first loans they gave out. And there's so many amazing things about Bob Rainier and Bank of Blue Valley, but when you hear that story, you would think like maybe, I mean, if I was in Bob Rainier's story, I would get the biggest name that makes me look good, that, you know, hey, I can't believe you banked that huge organization that grew. But instead, he picked someone that he cared about and that made a difference in his life. And it wasn't money. It was a person.
So tomorrow we have a show. Bob Rainier is going to be on the whole show. We're going to talk about Bob and his career. If you don't know Bob Rainier, go Google him. You're like the one person that doesn't know about him. But if you don't, go Google him. We have Michelle Robin joining us. We have George, who I can't say his last name, but he is the CEO of Union Station. And we have Brent Giles, the new CEO of Bank of Blue Valley. That will all be on the show tomorrow. We're very excited. I actually went to Bank of Blue Valley for something the other day, Scott, because, you know, I have my accounts there. My daughter and I walked in, and Bob was standing at the front just greeting people. So I got to meet him in person.
That's insane. So the historical factor, obviously, there's a lot of great things they've done. But when you think of Kansas City, we were always a Kansas City focused metropolitan, and Overland Park became an actual power and a economic force. Well, a lot of that was built by the Rainier and Bank of Blue Valley. So that's the historical significance to Kansas City, that the first suburb of size was built, funded, and grown by Bob Rainier.
So tune in tomorrow. It's actually a different time. It's 10 a.m., but right here on the page. Let's get to today's show. How about that?
Hot coffee.
Hot coffee. All right, hold on. I feel like I'm off my game today a little bit. All right.
But you were closing a deal right beforehand, and you have nickel and suede earrings on, and you're looking very nice.
If you are in marketing, this is the craziest week to be in marketing, because we've got Black Friday, we've got Small Business Saturday, we've got Cyber Monday coming up this week. So if I look a little crazed, that's why I'll be back to normal next week. All right, here we go. Let's do ladies first. Today on the show, we have joining us Holli. Hi, Holli. How are ya?
Hi, team. Great. How are you?
Great. Our next guest is Hannah. Hi, Hannah. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm great.
Super excited to have you here. And last but certainly not least, Toney.
Hello, guys. I'm sorry. I'm double dutying right now, but I will be right back.
I'll put you on mute then. Okay, perfect. So let's just jump into this. Holli, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Absolutely. I am in IT staffing. My company's called Hive Solutions Group, and I've been in Kansas City for well over 20 plus years now. From a little small town in Pittsburgh, Kansas, so not far away, but came up here for opportunity out of the small town.
So we have to identify this right off the bat. How do you know the gentleman below you in the screen?
I met him at that wonderful small town that we're both from.
And?
He is my husband of 11 plus years.
Yes. So now Erin and I and Hannah, the audience, get to observe the interaction. So in your industry, it's an amazing time to be in the industry. So besides Toney, your husband, being incredibly happy and excited about all the success, tell us how you got to Kansas City from Pittsburgh and your career path before you started your own company.
Absolutely. Yeah, my career path and my education line up in different elements. I am an early childhood education minor, and came up here in 1994. I'm not aging myself at all. So yeah, got out of college and came up here and decided I couldn't teach because I couldn't afford to live on my own and be a teacher, unfortunately. So I went into staffing at a California company. I was one of the first companies in Kansas City to actually have email back in '94.
Mhm.
I used to write back home and say, "You're not going to believe this. You can type a message and it gets there instantly. You don't have to fax or, call. It's the most upcoming thing ever." And they couldn't believe it. They're like, "There's no way." I mean, internet back in '94 was unheard of. So I was part of a company called Cellnet Data Systems, and I've been involved in technology ever since. So it was a great opportunity to, kind of get on the cutting edge of things. I was putting cell towers up all over the Kansas City area from California.
Yeah, that's a unique space to be in because you're pretty much bidding on a space like a cell phone tower that doesn't have a market value at times. And so you're kind of creating it. So go ahead.
No, go ahead. They just had to put up all these little modules, and we were in charge of manufacturing them and putting them all over Kansas City in order to get frequency. That was even before cell phones were even a thing.
So I'm assuming you didn't work there the whole time to starting your company. I always feel like there's an entry point of a leap. And sometimes it's like, well, someone goes, "I'll be your first client and I want you to do it." So, what prepared you to take that entrepreneurial journey? And then specifically, what was the tipping point?
Absolutely. Yeah. It took about 3 jumps to get to where I'm at today. Being in sales, that was my first introduction. I'd been in human resources since '94. And
how long were you in human resources? Obviously, when to transition to Hannah down the road, how long were you doing?
I mean, I did have a couple of hiccups along the way. I went to San Francisco and lived there for a year, and Chicago for 2 years, and was in human resources all along. And when I came back to Kansas City, it was right after 9/11. So it was all these little hops and jumps. When I worked in Chicago, I worked for a consulting company. 90 guys worked at Modus and Novell and all of these big centers in Chicago area. So it was just fascinating to be involved in a lot of project work with Microsoft and Linux, and just tons of big. Motorola was our biggest client. So, I mean, back in the 90s, I'm still dating myself because this is before even the 2000s, so, or 20th century. But anyway, it was a great opportunity for me to kind of be involved with a lot of good salespeople around information technology. And then when I came to Kansas City, I actually worked at Sprint after their first big layoff. So that was kind of an eye-opener. It was not a great time, and the economy was not the best. But I had an opportunity to work with some great folks that I still do business with today. Magically, it's crazy. But yeah, my first real job in staffing was after I'd been in sales for about 4 or 5 years independently, working from home back in the day in the early 2001, 2, and 3. So yeah, it was all these sales and human resources and information technology. It's just all of those stepping stones took me where I am today.
That's awesome. And so as I was talking with the editor of the Business Journal, and I was talking about, I'll probably get these numbers wrong, but Cerner reported being a $5-6 billion company. And the editor of the Business Journal had to explain to me that Sprint at one time was a $35 billion plus organization. So it's basically larger than pretty much the top 50 companies in Kansas City. So people just don't really realize that. And so I promise I'm not going to ask all the questions too much and have Erin jump in. But what does for you, have you always been in technology for what your business is in the niche? Because you can really work with a variety of different industries on the staffing side. So I guess what's your number one and number two, number three that you help organizations find?
Right now, it is software engineers, data scientists, infrastructure, and security. Those are probably my top right now. needs. Data engineers are probably surpassing my software engineers right now.
Yeah, but how do you find? I mean, finding them is like a needle in a haystack, and I feel like getting their attention. It's got to be a relationship type game or a persistent game. I mean, what
It
do you
is
give more
definitely
credit to?
relationship, and honestly, it is about, like you said, just building that relationship, because you can go on LinkedIn and tag 500 people, and maybe one will connect with you, but it is making that connection, whether it's a company or a connection or a skill, or just introducing an opportunity. I'm trying to entice them with some great opportunities. There's a lot of green space, there's a lot of new development, there's a lot of excitement in the market, especially around data, because everything's data related right now, or infrastructure or security. So
Yeah, there's winners in every economy, but import export during this pandemic and this inflation period, and staffing organizations, as we come to the end of the year, I have just seen murder it, because they're coming to organizations like mine to figure out the complexity, because they've worked so hard to do well. Now they're trying to figure out, are they protecting their wealth and understanding and crossing their T's and dotting their. I don't do wealth management, I do insurance. But
yeah.
it's just I literally been on 3 meetings the last 2 weeks with companies over 100 people in staffing, and there was a company just today before I got on at 2:00 that does restoration staffing, and they ballooned up to 600-700 people in 2 years. So it's a crazy world. Aaron, you ready for the transition, my friend?
Yes. Well, whose ever phone keeps beeping, will you guys put it on silent? Because it's messing with our sound when we do that. I'd really appreciate it. All right, Hannah, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Parker. I am the current HR director for Hub International. So I get the pleasure of working with Scott. I have been in Kansas City the last 10 years. So really the entirety of my professional career. I am from a small town south of Kansas City, Clinton, Missouri. And I went to college at Mizzou. So I was actually recruited by Target. I had a job offer in Kansas City when I graduated from Mizzou. And it brought me back to Kansas City, which I was happy about, of course. I'm still kind of close to home, but not as much in that small town. So I can relate to Holli on that, just more opportunity in Kansas City. So I've been here the last 10 years. I love Kansas City. I live in Midtown, so I am super passionate about, new restaurants and shops and being kind of close to the center of everything. I have no desire to move as of now. I can kind of, walk through my history and career.
Do it.
Okay. Like I said, I was recruited by Target actually when I graduated college. So I went into their, I don't know what it's called now. It's like executive training program. So shout out to any other Target ETLs that are watching this. And then that really honestly kicked off my HR career. I was just a business major at Mizzou. Not exactly sure, like any new grad, a senior in college, of what I wanted to do and what the next steps were. So business made sense. I got the job with Target and I was like, yeah, this sounds great. I love Target. And then, they kind of put you into different career paths, I guess. You can do logistics or front end or HR. I was with Target almost 5 years, loved it. A great company to work for. Did a short stint at a staffing agency, and then went to a company called SPX, who is formerly known as Marley, kind of a local Kansas City company that was bought by a larger corporation that builds cooling towers. So I've been there the last almost 6 years, and then I just started with Hub in September. So I've done kind of the whole gamut of industries, but all HR. So from retail to construction to now insurance. I always tell everyone, if you can handle retail HR, honestly, I think you can do anything. So I'm very thankful for my time there, and that kind of, kicked off my career. But so happy to be at Hub. I love it. Like I said, just, hit my 2 months. So jumping right in.
And who did you replace, and what was his name?
Yeah, so I swear I'm not making this up, but the prior HR director, who is still an HR director with Hub in Texas, his name is Rock Music, legal name Rock Music. And so that was really fun coming in because I thought everyone was like messing with me as being the new person, but no,
Wasn't it like Dig Rock Music? So it was like Doug?
Yeah.
Doug Rock Music?
I'll have to clarify with him. I think it is a middle name, but he goes by Rock. So his email signature and everything is Rock Music.
That's
he's
awesome.
A great guy. He's a great resource for me still. He sits in Texas. So he was kind of covering our region until I got onboarded. So yeah, I get to tell everyone that I work with Rock Music, which is a really fun icebreaker.
So you worked with a gentleman named Randy Powell,
yes,
who is a fan of the show. He's been on the show. A lot of our guests.
Friend.
Yep, a lot of guests know him. He's a really great person. What are some of the things that you learn from Randy, and now in a leadership position? What do you want to copy from Randy?
Oh my gosh, so much. Randy is one of my favorite people ever. He was the president of SPX when I was there the majority of my time. So yeah, I feel so lucky to have worked kind of under his leadership and have his example of what a great leader is. And I love that all of you know, I feel like everyone knows Randy. He's, like a Kansas City celebrity. But if you know Randy, it's, to love him. And I think the biggest takeaway for me with Randy was just how he treats people and his, genuine approach to leadership and his transparency. And he's just a very down to earth, but respectable leader. And I really value that about Randy, where, you can walk in his office and grab a cup of coffee and chat about life, but also, talk about business. And he can tell you exactly, give you feedback on what you need to work on or what he's seeing. It's funny, he'll tell people, so I am not a runner at all. Like, that's actually my nightmare. I don't understand people who run. I wish I could do it. It's, I think, literally the hardest thing in the world. And so Randy, as you know, will take on all these challenges, and he was running. He's like, I swear you can do it. I was like, no, I cannot even run a mile. In high school, we had to run a mile, and I'm pretty sure I walked one lap, ran one lap to get it done under 15 minutes. That was the challenge, which tells you my running skills. I couldn't even do it at 17.
What a curveball.
Right. Randy was like, you can do it, I promise. And he's like, let's do a 5K together. And so I didn't actually do it with Randy, but I did. I trained, which I know it's pathetic. I had to train for a 5K, but I really did. And I ended up doing a 5K.
I don't think that's pathetic. I think there's a lot of people like me included that can run a 5K right now.
Yeah.
It was up in the corner.
So yeah, Randy totally pushed me to do it. He was like, you have to just do it once. You can do it. I know you can do it. And so, yeah, I trained and ran a 5K. So, I mean, that just speaks to the kind of leader he is, he will encourage you and push you out of your comfort zone, whether it's professionally or personally. And I think that's, a characteristic of such a good leader. He cares about people outside of work. It's very evident in everything he does. And, I think that is how you get great results, honestly. If you're motivating your team the right way and taking care of your team and creating a great place to work, then they're more inspired to work harder and work, tie in results to the business. And Randy was really good about motivating people to do that.
Yeah. So I was building Toney up before the show. But we always have a first for everything. People have kids that pop on, or they get disconnected. Now I can back Toney up because what he does for a living is just a totally different world in the general contracting world. So I'm wondering if he threw his phone to hide it. But the thing I love about people in the general contracting world is they answer and they get things done really quickly. I feel like people in the general contracting world should be working with HR and leadership, confrontation, because anything that pops up, they just bring it up automatically.
Yeah.
And they just hash it out. So I feel comfortable giving Toney a hard time of popping in and out because conflict resolution. So I'll let Aaron transition to Toney, and then I'm going to figure out what Toney's conflict resoluting right now.
I'm not at liberty to say without getting myself in trouble, but go ahead, Aaron.
Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
That could be a very long story or a very short story. I don't know, but we'll see where I fit in. So I'm actually from Frontenac, Kansas, which is just north of Pittsburgh, Kansas, where my wife is from. So we aren't from the same town, but I'm from a better town, just north of Pittsburgh.
You know where the Havens family great grandparents are buried?
Frontenac, Kansas, I believe.
Frontenac, not with the mob either.
I don't know anything about that. But yeah,
there's a mob connection to this town, just FYI.
Yeah, that's probably a different podcast or video.
Yep.
Yeah, I grew up down in southeast Kansas. Enjoyed my youth, high school, and college for sure down there. Had no idea that I was going to be doing what I do today. Then I tinkered around, helped a lot of people do a lot of different little tasks, but definitely did. When you grow up in southeast Kansas, if you're a general contractor, for the most part, you own the business, you actually do the work, and you project manage the work. I didn't know there was this thing where you could be a project manager and just oversee all the work like we do now. But that's just that part of the world, right?
I think that's a good clarification, though, because I think a lot of people just don't realize it, but also what makes you so successful at what you do.
Yeah. So, so when I just decided what I was going to do, I was working for a highway patrolman putting on roofs, and he's like, "Don't go into law enforcement. Please go to construction." And my brother was in law enforcement as well, and he was pointing me the same direction. So, talked to a few people, figured it out, and I was like, I'm going to go to 4 years of school to go lay concrete and build things, which there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it's a honorable skill set, and I wish I had some of it, but my calluses are very minimal. So,
and a recent cut on your arm.
Yeah, it's healed up nicely, but that's another long story too that I don't think we can quite talk about all the way, Scott. But
yeah, we can't talk. I'm having to face Holli for the first time, face to face, and so I'm a little scared of the fact that you got a cut on your arm.
Yeah, I can share some pictures if anybody wants to see, but it's just the dangers of the job, right? When you're a manager and you're asked to do some of the work, you end up with a dozen stitches and cut to the bone. But so when I graduated from PSU, which has a great construction program, I came to Kansas City because we don't build what they build up here, in terms of buildings and the amount of it. So, you have to go where the opportunity was. So I came and worked for a mega firm and spent a lot of years doing that. Learned a tremendous amount, made some really good friends and good contacts. And then I decided that it really wasn't my thing to build the Empire State Building or the tallest building in the world. I just wanted to build stuff and have fun doing it. And kind of, what's the word? I'm a small town guy. I wanted to be a small town guy, but you got to do it in the city where there's enough work to make some money. So I went to another general contractor out of Olathe and spent some time there. I had a couple different stuff.
What was the general contract or any of the GCs that people would recognize?
That people would recognize? Yeah, I think so. I after JE done, I left and I went to I had a small stop where I did some work. We started the tall grass retirement community out there on 135th and Metcalf, but due to 2007-8, that they were only going to put up a couple buildings, so everybody was out of a job. Fortunately enough, I had a friend that knew Tim Harmon over at Harmon Construction, and I went to work for them, and I spent 7-8 years there. I feel like, and then, you know, like things do, they run their course, and I landed with a good friend and a wonderful company in the subcontracting world of drywall and framing of the Nebel CSI, Union Framing and Drywall Shop.
Yeah.
You couldn't find a better family and people than they had there. It's wonderful, but couldn't say enough about them. But ultimately, my heart was general contracting. You know, the whole picture. Even when I was doing the framing and drywall, you know, and I go out on a job site, all these guys would ask, well, "What would you do, Tony? What would you do?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm not the general contractor anymore. I'm just putting drywall up." But that's when I ran into Chris and Brian at a clay shoot event. And if you know Chris Evans and Brian Hardy, they're usually found on Powder Creek shooting some clays. But we were out there, and somebody said, "Are you looking for a job?" And I kind of said, "Never not looking." Then I made a phone call to another guy I knew, and I said, "Were they serious?" So I ended up at Evardy Construction a little over a year and a half ago, pushing 2 years in February. And I think they've got a great thing going. They've been in business for 8 years. They're, you know, very strong and strong financially. They've got relationships all over town. And we just do some really cool work and different work than a lot of the other contractors in town. So, you know, we touch the medical side, the office, tenant finish type work. We've got some ground up buildings coming along. So we're kind of all over the board, but it's a great setup that we've got going, and I think we can do well there.
Started in the recession, became a top 15 general contractor with no debt.
No debt.
For Aaron and Hannah, these gentlemen that we speak so highly of are the most caring, kind-hearted. You already know the answer because they
were almost wanted with me last year.
Yes, that's right.
They did.
They're men of principle, but yet we can't have them on the show because Tony's more responsible for it than they are, because we don't know when you catch them off the cuff. Are they going to make you laugh, or are they going to make HR Hannah be like, no, you can't.
It's a good thing that they are the owners and HR. That's all.
Yes, they are HR.
A good or a bad thing, maybe. Yeah.
No, I tell you, they are great guys, and they care a lot about a lot of different organizations. And, you know, you asked some of our wins, and, you know, to me, last year when they did the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and I can't remember the number they brought in, but
it was over 6 figures.
It was over 6 figures, well over, and it was
a little more than me. It was
in the competition and in the range of some, I guess, Fortune. I mean, Mariner Wealth and I can't remember the other one, but I mean some big companies, and they were able to really throw some dollars out. So.
He's the funniest guy in Kansas City.
Brian Hardy. Yeah. I'm not allowed to put him on speakerphone if my wife's around, or at least without telling Holli. So not in a bad way, but that's just who we are. But Brian and I
raised over $180,000 for Big Brothers Big Sisters. But not only that, they've been a supporter of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Shoot, I want to say 6-7 years since I've known them, and so it was really cool to see them get the recognition after they've just always donated so much quietly over the years.
Quietly, and I that's the other thing I like, you know. And it's not just Big Brothers and Big Sisters. There's a Project 1020 homeless shelter that we're working on, and it's just not us; it's our trade partners as well. But you know, we go in there and we really take care of. We're not asking. Yes, we all got to eat, but everything else goes back to them. Let's get them up and running. And we've had an interview at the Healing House lately, and it's a real good opportunity for us just to, I think we match well with them and have the same ideals to take care of the community. And those guys are behind it 100%. So,
and then last question, then I'll let Aaron jump to the second part of the show. But what, if you can talk about it, what are some of the projects that you're really currently doing that you like, or you're looking forward to next year on doing?
That's an awesome question. So fortunately over the years, I've built some cool stuff. I spent a lot, when I was with J.E. Dunn, I spent a lot of time in the healthcare market at Children's Mercy and St. Luke's on the Plaza, the Heart Hospital, before the big brand new one. We redid the whole thing inside. It was just spectacular on how we coordinated all that. When I was with Harmon, we did my claim to fame, at least with my nieces, are Fritz's on Shawnee Mission Parkway in Flum. The train, that was that's kind of a little history there in Kansas City. Everybody loves Fritz's. But recently, we completed the Down Syndrome Guild. I think it's called the Down Syndrome Initiative now of Kansas City last year, which is a wonderful organization in Kansas City that more people need to know about.
Mm-hmm.
Just a whole new community space for them to help those clients grow and learn like the rest of us, and just give them some space. And it's really cool, and they continue to grow and get better. But we really had a big one come up earlier in the year, and we're going to start here after 2021, just probably 1st of January there in 2022. It's I won't say any names, but it's a credit union out of Arizona. It's a ground up build, and we're real excited to be part of that. And there's another big ground up build that we got out south of town.
Are you putting it on College Boulevard? I feel like every new bank goes on College Boulevard.
No, this one's on 119th and Ridgeview, I believe. Yeah. But
every time I drive down, one of my good friends runs the banking book of business at Business Journal, and I just literally call her and I'm like, dun, 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 every time I drive down College. I'm like, have you called this?
They told me where they wanted to be, and I went by and took pictures of probably half a dozen or more financial institutions in the area. And I said, are you sure this is where you want to be? Yeah. Okay.
I always figure there's a lot of research. All right. Well, look, Brian says about Big Brothers Big Sisters, that contribution was a result of our great trade partners, clients, and friends. We were just lucky to be the conduit. So, yes, they did amazing last year. All right. Well, Holly, we're going to roll back over to you. What has been the biggest win that you've had this past year?
This year, probably two big wins for me. One has been a client that I've worked with for 16 plus years, and they were building a new automation platform. So I've been involved with that, and it's been very exciting to, with 5 different verticals, add software engineers, product owners, technical analysts, I already said product owners, but QA. So it was just a whole layer. So I've from director all the way down to, help desk. So that's been very exciting, mainly because it was only a handful of, resources that they were utilizing based on, relationships and my involvement with the market. And then secondly, I've had a lot of opportunities to work with some directors this year. So there's been a lot of high level opportunities, which I've been very, very excited to work with. And that was specifically with DevOps and healthcare. So that was a big win for me. And that was based on relationships that I've had, over the last 16 years. So knowing, what companies are utilizing and skills, and, when you say software engineer, there's so many, vertical or so many elements within that engineer. It's not a vanilla subject. Very involved findings, so it's hard to nail down specifics. Kind of like they call me the matchmaker. It's you have these lists, and you have your criteria over here, and then you have to match them up with companies.
So how quickly can you narrow down when you're talking to your client, of asking them questions of what they're looking for? I feel like that's an art, because in theory, we could talk forever about what you want a candidate to look like. And I feel like people that are great in your industry can ask a short amount of questions. Am I just completely all over the place, or does that relate a little bit to you?
No,
and maybe
absolutely.
What's your secret sauce on identifying what a good candidate looks like to the client?
Absolutely. And I think that's a good question, because I have been in HR, and there are questions you can and can't ask people. And, when you do work through HR and companies, you just kind of get very surface information. But when you're able to work with the hiring manager directly, you're able to find out about the culture, maybe about some bad employments in the past. So you get a lot more background information that helps qualify people going forward. And no offense to HR. I was in HR for a long time. I wasn't in staffing in HR. I was in the back end with human resources and benefits and things like that. I never recruited in HR, but I know it's very complicated. So when you're finding out, what is important to the hiring manager, whether it's a skill set, a personality, a culture, a lot of the companies I work with in town have very small teams. It's, so, one bad hire could ruin a team. So, just finding those people that have the skill and the personality and the right culture is key. So that's why they hire people like me that spend time in doing that, because sometimes that takes upward, a month to 6 months. I've had clients that are still, have roles open for a very, very long time. And it's hard to stay involved that long. But people nowadays, they want, instant gratification. And you just don't send somebody without, knowing a little bit about the company and then the candidate. So.
Well, it's those darn millennials that want that instant gratification.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. I'm a millennial, so,
Yeah.
but very, very true. Aaron, I'll go ahead and let you ask a question there.
Yeah.
Hannah, what has been your biggest win this past year?
Well, I would say personally, my new job at Hub, just being here since September. But as a business and a company, I think, Hub has had a ton of wins this year, and our growth is really impressive and awesome. And one of the things that kind of attracted me to this company. So just in this last year alone, our Kansas City office has acquired 3 new companies that are merging and joining with our Kansas City team, which we're so excited about. And really some more specialized insurance. So we have like a collegiate insurance company who's moving in December. We just acquired a really small office in Michigan that specializes in rail. So I just think those are really exciting wins. And I'm honestly really happy to be a part of this team.
Man, that's such an appropriate and great answer. So what about something you didn't expect about onboarding a new company that involved a lot of work that you didn't think would involve a lot of work?
Oh my gosh, everything. I think like I did expect it would involve a lot of work because I've done this with my past companies. So I think I knew kind of, being in HR, what goes into it, but you would be amazed at like the littlest details that you have to dig into. Like you are truly in the weeds when you're onboarding a new company. And I think something Hub does a really great job of that I have talked to our executive leadership team about since I've been here, just an observation, is they really do try to maintain the culture of the company that they're acquiring and bringing in, instead of just saying like, this is the Hub way, you have to do it that way. Like, sorry, you're part of Hub now. Like they really are very accommodating. And I think it's made a big difference in the transition for employees. Like we really don't have any employees leave after any of our acquisitions. And honestly, I think some of them would say they're more excited about Hub than their former company. Like we have, like one of our offices in Michigan, the office we acquired had a different holiday schedule than what Hub observed. And we let them keep that and kind of grandfathered it in. So just little things like that, like making sure that we're keeping pieces of their culture, but still making them feel welcome and, knowing that they're on a much bigger network and part of a much bigger company. I think it's kind of a win-win, like best of both worlds.
So another random question, just genuinely curious. So when you interview people, and we have a little bit of a culture of like, well, if they're a good person, they'll figure it out.
Right.
How does that feel on the HR side? Because I feel like on HR, you have to be really regimented and not, as we all would be if we were in the same position, because
right.
I always say the adult or the strategic vision comes through HR because they're helping bring everything together. But
right.
What about when you're interviewing someone and then they don't have the experience that one would traditionally have? Like, how is that interviewing folks, and how do you figure that out, or have you had to do that in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm sure Holli could even speak to this too. Like it's such a crazy market right now that You might not find, it's definitely a candidate's market. So they're able to go out, they're probably having multiple offers very quickly where they can choose. So I think yes, you should have like a fine line, unless it's a very specialized position where you are saying like, this is a must-have skill and you have to be strict about it. You should have a fine line. There's definitely a gray area. And I think that's where a lot of HR people get hung up, honestly. I mean, what we do is black and white, but it's also, most of it's very gray. So if you have a good feeling about someone, and I know, Scott, we've talked about this multiple times, like if you find the right candidate, and I've said this from the beginning of my career, if you find the right candidate and if you have, I guess, based on the position, but like leadership skills, you can't really train someone in that, or if they're going to be a part of a team and working closely, like you can't train someone on relating well to others and being a team player. Like if that doesn't come across in the interview, it's just probably not going to be a good fit. But you can train someone like your insurance internal system. You can train someone on that. So if they don't have that experience, but you get that teamwork and collaboration from them in the interview, then I for sure would hire them if the hiring manager is okay with it, especially in this market.
I'm excited for the market that it is today, because a resume or a LinkedIn profile does not judge anything about anyone. A lot of people are shocked that, in my opinion, that the reason why Aaron and I got together is because we share the same work ethic and we trust each other, and no one ever outworks Aaron. And so it wasn't a variety of different things in life. But the reason I love this market is I'm hoping people are relearning that you got to use a little bit of the gut instinct about the human being and understanding that. In fact, when we were researching you, we called people from Clinton, Missouri. Through Melissa Oliva. And obviously we knew Randy Powell. And it was instantaneous, just like when talking to Toney or his partners, Brian or Chris. I don't need to hear anything more than, do it. Because people just have that gut instinct. And I think far too long we've been reliant on checking boxes.
100%.
And it's just not the case. So I hope post pandemic and post whatever we have going on, people are more, it's like we're hiring people out of college, but they're mid-level managers or senior level managers, where it's like, man, they're a good person. They work hard. This will work. We'll teach them.
Absolutely. I mean, just going back to like getting hired from Target when I first graduated, I had 0 retail experience, 0 management experience. I was going into a management training program for 6 weeks, but it was like a crash course. Here you go. Here's your team. Run a $3 million store. Like I didn't have any of that experience, but I learned and figured it out as I went. And so I think that would be my one piece of advice to hiring managers is for sure just go off more of those like characteristics that you're looking for. Unless it's a hard and fast skill, you can usually train a lot of people, but you can't train like certain characteristics, I would say, that you're looking for.
And the last question I'll toss it to Aaron. How long, again, remind everyone, how long have you been in your position?
2 months since September.
So you now oversee, and how many years of experience do you have in the industry?
Like 11, almost 11.
No, in insurance.
2 months.
And now you oversee over 500 people and $100 million in revenue.
Absolutely.
Over a 4 or 5 area region. So it's good food for thought for the audience.
Absolutely.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
Toney, we got about 12 minutes left. Toney, what has been your biggest win this past year?
Well, I kind of mentioned a couple, but I don't mind repeating myself and adding a few. But, our biggest win is just surviving every year. It's construction. It's up and down. It's all over the place, and especially with the pandemic. But, we've powered through and we've been really successful. Even through the pandemic, we stayed busy. A couple scares here and there, but for the most part, have done really well. I mentioned earlier, I just like to build stuff. I really like to, and this is so cliche. I mean, totally, but it is more fun to build that relationship with the client and our clients, whether they be the developers, real estate developers, or just individuals looking for a project, to team up with them and team up with the architects is a giant win if we all work together and the job gets completed.
So, Tony, go back to that a little bit, because you're overseeing so many things, and it's almost like a fight for every single thing, because everyone's trying to get a piece of the margin.
Yes.
So when you have drywall or tile or electrical, you're fighting for those. And so I was talking to a developer today on a totally different subject, and it's almost like you got to bring your you don't have to bring your boxing gloves to work, but say any of us on this show prepared for your job, we would have to. And that's why you're so good at conflict resolution, is because you have to have some serious back and forth. Is that what you mean about surviving every year?
Yeah,
because you're battling.
Yeah, it's it definitely is difficult, especially, some of the bigger companies have people that do just that and do just project management and superintendent and, the marketing and the sales, where, Brian, Chris, and I, and Ryan Carlson, we've got a strong team. There's quite a few of us, but at the four of us here get after it in sales, in project management, in all follow-ups, all financials. We're battling on many different levels every day. And, some of these big companies, they have those big marketing firms where they're out meeting and greeting, shaking hands and kissing babies. And we're trying to do the same, but we're still trying to get stuff built at the same time. So,
or you could hire Lily and James and they could do that. No, I'm joking. Talking about Aaron's company, but keep going.
Right. No, maybe one day, but it is a daily battle, and it's, I can show you my phone and how many we're on the phone all day long.
So just curious, give people an idea of what you're battling today that you have to pop off and not that, we all trust each other, but it's not normal. You pop off of a podcast, but is it a project that's being like something being delivered, or is it a project that's being built? Just kind of give everyone an idea.
There is a project that is near and dear to my heart, and a friend's project on top of that I'm working on to help her out. And the municipality is not the friendliest at this moment for whatever reason. And we're battling with them in order to get this project done by the 1st of December, which there's no way it can happen just because of the municipality and the steps that we got to take. They don't like some of the ways we're doing some things, but I've got to sidestep around all that. And we were trying to, we're trying to pour some concrete today, and he didn't like the fact that I wasn't getting the underground inspection. I took some pictures and moving forward, but I'll ask for forgiveness later because I've got a timeline to meet. Not so much for the owner, but the users of that facility that is so important before it gets cold.
No, I would have done the same thing if I was in your position just now, because when a friend's calling you, you have to answer. It's just not good enough because they entrusted you with something. So you can't just not answer it. And get back to them. It's when a buddy calls, you're like, oh man.
Total downfall. I get too wrapped up in some of my pet projects like this, where, I think all projects are unique and fun to build, but sometimes there's those projects that mean something to the community, and you gotta still give it your all, even though there's no money behind it and you're not getting rich off of it. You got to give it your all and get it done, because those are the ones that in the long run.
Last quick question. People aren't aware what margins are for general contractors. Typically, what is like a JE Dunn margin, not a Evardy?
No, I can't answer that question honestly, because I know what ours are. I know what it takes for us to run our business. And our margins might barely cover that.
But sometimes it's easily under 5%.
What? Yeah.
So the point is be good to your general contractors and understand.
Well, I mean, you do the math, and I'm a contractor. I don't do math well, but $100,000 job. What's 3.5% of that? It ain't very much. It ain't very much.
It's not the 95% that your better half is
Right.
doing on margin, and maybe she's the smartest person in the room right now. Aaron, you want to ask an icebreaker about Thanksgiving?
Go ahead.
No, come on. What is an
I am
icebreaker?
not the icebreaker. What does he have right there?
Most
I had to
wanted.
bring our partners on board. I found this earlier and I said I have to use this today. So this is Chris and Brian for everybody that I've been talking about.
So Aaron, we can flip the script. If you were to ask an icebreaker about Thanksgiving dinner, what would you ask?
I have no idea. I didn't even think through today. I'm so
you are so in the busy season for Lily and James. So Holly, for Thanksgiving, we'll double it up. What is your favorite dish to cook, and what is your favorite dish to eat?
Oh, for sure, dessert. So probably pumpkin pie or pumpkin roll is my favorite dish. And what's the second question?
To cook.
Favorite
To cook.
Oh gosh, I love to cook. So, Toney, I don't know. What's my favorite thing to cook?
She cooks everything. You don't get a belly like I got.
We've never had guests be able to do this. This isn't fair. You can't.
I would say she makes a pretty good. She makes a pretty mean pies, and she makes some pretty mean cakes. She's very good at dessert.
Okay, you're gonna have to change your answer up, and Toney, we get to you. So Hannah, what is your favorite dish to eat, and then what is your favorite dish to cook?
My favorite dish to eat is rolls, but my grandma's recipe, it's not my favorite thing to cook because it takes literally all day. You have to let it rise like twice or something. So we always start those in the morning, but definitely the most amazing thing to eat. They're so good. And my favorite thing to cook, probably like the sides are apps. I love like making creative apps while people are cooking. I'm not a huge
Come on, what is it? What is the app? What's the specific one?
Like baked brie. I made these like green bean casserole bites this year. That was really good.
Go.
Like a good charcuterie board. All about
like
that. Yeah.
Toney, what about your favorite dish to eat and cook, but you cannot say pie is your favorite dish to eat?
I figured them both out. So I'm not the cook of the house. I can make some mean eggs. But Holly's the specialty there. She can kill everything. But I think this year I'm going to make. There's a place back home in Scammon, Kansas called Josie's Italian restaurant, and they have the best antipasta. And so I think I'm going to make some of that for an appetizer to go with a charcuterie board that my sister-in-law is making. So I can whip that together: olives and mushrooms and some garlic and olive oil and so forth. I only have a few things that I can actually make, but my mother's sweet potatoes, and when I say sweet potatoes, it's basically butter with some potatoes and marshmallows on top, and they're
That's
the most
key to everything on Thanksgiving that I finally learned as an adult. I was like, man, I just ate butter the whole time. So, Aaron, what is your favorite thing to eat, and what is your favorite thing to cook on Thanksgiving?
Well, Dev and I cook the whole meal together, and my 15-year-old and I cook the whole meal together. And my favorite thing is the pumpkin pie we buy from Costco every year to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty good.
Well, we have Bob Rainier.
You have to tell us yours.
Right.
Oh, well, to make it interesting, since we have 2 minutes, deviled eggs. Don't know why. That's been the thing in my family. And then my grandmother, who is from Pittsburgh, Kansas, and Frontenac, has a noodle macaroni type dish with olives. And she said she had it in high school in Pittsburgh, Kansas. And that has survived 60 years in my family. So to tie it full circle to Toney and Holly from Pittsburgh, Kansas, it's a macaroni type olive dish that don't ask anyone why, but when anyone comes to Thanksgiving and they try it, they can't have enough of it and they want it, and it's weird. It's incredibly salty and cheesy, so it's not healthy. Back to the butter. So it's maybe it's so popular because you're getting hit with so many tastes that are traditional Thanksgiving. This is a curveball that people are like, oh, it changes up the taste buds.
All right. So tomorrow, 10 a.m., we're going to be back. I usually say next week, but tomorrow, 10 a.m., it's going to be an incredible show. It's going to be a history-making show. I want to thank our guests. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to Bank of Blue Valley for sponsoring, and we will see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Go connect with our guests, and we'll see y'all later.
Thank
See
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.